My name is Chris Freer, and I have the distinct honor of serving as the president of Woodward Academy. I've been in this role for all of about 3.5 months, although starting in this newest role as president, only the 8th president in the history of Woodward Academy in our 125 years. But I've been at Woodward for a very long time. This is actually the start of my 32nd year here at Woodward Academy. And I've been in a lot of different roles, from being a classroom teacher to being a coach to being an advisor, assistant principal, vice president for student life, vice president for advancement, and now in the role of president. So I'm incredibly grateful for this opportunity to be part of this community and to get to share with you all today a little bit more about what we're doing right now as we start this 126th year. We have 150 people that have already tuned in, so we're really excited about the participation today. And I'm getting ready to walk you through our strategic planning process. But I want to thank everyone who has already participated in a lot of our listening sessions that have taken place over the past year, and our survey that was conducted. And then for those of you that have already offered questions, and I'm going to try to get to a lot of the questions that were asked in the webinar email that was sent previously. And then, of course, we've got some upcoming opportunities for you to join us live in person. But I did want to share quickly, as we begin this webinar, that my favorite question that was asked is, who is going to win the Georgia Tech football game? And I will tell you, having had two sons that are at Georgia Tech, and having had one that played on the football team for the last 6 seasons, it is a lot less stressful to attend the games, although I'm a little jealous of all the success that they've had. We did sit through 8 overtimes last year in Athens and came out on the bad end. So I'm going with the Yellow Jackets, and hopefully you can see my screen. One of my 3 boys, my oldest Henry, was the long snapper at Georgia Tech. You can see the whole family is all in for the Yellow Jackets. And again, I am grateful to be able to watch extra points, field goals, and punts now for Georgia Tech and not have to worry if it was a good snap. But just again, incredibly grateful for this opportunity to talk with you all today. And I'm going to now get on to our, okay. So somebody just said they couldn't see the screen. Is that the case? All right. I don't see slides, and somebody's now asking a question. So let's see if I can make sure that I've done this properly. Goodness. Okay, sorry. Now you can see Mr. Henry, long snapping. Here's the family, all in at Georgia Tech. Hopefully you can see this now. And of course, again, just incredibly proud, but grateful that we're not having to deal with the stress associated with it. Now, moving on to more important things. Hopefully you all can see this slide. I'm getting texts now that says you can. So we are going to jump into the most important part of our conversation today, and that is the strategic plan. So I'm going to check real quick and make sure. And yes, everyone says they can see the slides. So here we are, Shaping Woodward's Future, a community conversation. So again, I'm going to talk briefly about what it is that we're going to do today, but just know that this is a check-in. We are just starting this conversation, and there will be many more opportunities for others to be able to chime in and to share their perspective. There'll be listening sessions that will continue. And remember, our strategic plan is a work in progress. While we have answers to many questions, we still have a lot of work to do, and we may even end up with more questions than answers during the process. So just going to give you a little bit of insight into what a strategic plan is. I think everybody is familiar with the concept. Traditionally, these have been 5-year plans that basically outline where we're going over the next 5 years. But I will share that this has evolved a lot over time. Strategic plans can be a year, 3 years, 5 years. They might take 7 or 10 years. The goal here is to achieve those goals. And if you're reading this slide, you should not be able to read anything in the pillars at this point in time, or the priorities that are listed. That's just a placeholder at this point, but it basically outlines where we're going, how we're going to get there. And really, it's setting our priorities and aligning our resources to make sure that we put all of our energy into the things that we as a community have lifted up to be those things that are the most important. And at its simplest level, it's about making choices, what we will do and what we won't do. And sometimes that's hard, especially when we have as big and as complicated as a community as Woodward Academy is, and in 125 years of our rich history. So looking at the timeline, we basically kicked off in the winter of 2025. One of the greatest gifts that we were given is that I was given the opportunity to know that I was going to be the next head an entire year before I took office. And so I got to spend a year with Dr. Gully in his role, and I was able to talk about the things that we had done well, the things that we needed to improve upon, and the things that we wanted to prioritize. And so we kicked off in the winter of 2025 with listening sessions. I had small group and individual listening sessions, over 125 of those listening sessions. Then in the spring, we had our strategic planning survey. This again was followed with additional listening sessions, and we had our leadership exchange webinar that took place where Stuart and I sat down and spent an hour talking about where Woodward was, where we wanted Woodward to go into the future. We had over 627 parents, 430 employees, 425 middle school students, over 700 upper school students, 15 governing board members, and a lot of alumni that participated in these listening sessions and those surveys. So it was a tremendous community effort that included a lot of voices. During the summer, I spent a lot of time diving into the data. I've been assisted by a Woodward alum named Scott Sanchez, who graduated in 1991 and has a lot of extensive experience with the D School out of Stanford and in the business world and in his occupational pursuits, that has been just instrumental in diving into this data and helping us to decide what our priorities are going to be. And of course, here we are now in the fall of 2025. We've kicked off the new school year. We've started to define strategic pillars that we think are priorities. We've launched task forces. And of course, we're having our webinar today, and we're going to continue in the coming weeks with strategic planning workshops. And you all have received emails about those dates. I hope you hold those dates and save the dates and can join us for some of those workshops. And then, of course, the end goal is to have a strategic plan that the governing board of Woodward Academy will adopt in January of 2026. And of course, when that is adopted and becomes official, we'll be sharing that with the community. Now, just because the strategic plan will have been adopted doesn't mean we won't have the flexibility to adjust as we go forward. But again, all of this will be done through the lens of what we as a community have identified as our priorities as an institution. All right, so we're going to jump into the pillars of the Woodward's next strategic plan. And I wanted to share with you that the overall multi-year plan is our roadmap for the future. And we are going to be diving into what our mission and our vision is for the school. But at the same time, we are going to be founding all of this in a foundation of excellence, character, and opportunity. So for those of you that have been part of the Woodward community for the last 30 some odd years, you know that excellence, character, and opportunity is our motto. And it will lay the foundation for whatever it is that we decide to do moving forward. The first pillar that I wanted to discuss to you is something that we have as a priority for Woodward, and things that have been discussed within our community is academic excellence. Making sure that our community is focused on academics as our priority. We are a college preparatory school, and as an institution that is valuing college preparation, we want to make sure that all of our students have access to excellence in academics. Now, when we talk about excellence, I want to back up for just a second and talk about what that really means. So excellence for us is setting this bar high. It doesn't mean we're going to get A's on every test. It doesn't mean that everyone will be the starting quarterback or the lead role in the play. What it does mean is that we are going to set our bar high. We're going to pursue mastery and high standards in all that we do in academics and beyond. And we're going to do that with purpose and with pride. Character. Character is at the center of everything that we do at Woodward Academy. It means that we're doing what's right. We're doing that together as a community, and we have certain values, things that are important to us. Part of our character lesson at Woodward Academy is our uniform. We want to make sure that our kids are wearing our uniform properly. That's how we teach character on a daily basis and doing things that are part of a community that are bigger than yourself. We want to lead with integrity, empathy, and courage, finding common ground and serving our community beyond ourselves. And then finally, opportunity. This means we're opening up doors. We have prolific opportunities at Woodward Academy, from the curricular to the co-curricular. There are opportunities for us to help every student uncover their strengths, pursue passions deeply, and open paths to thrive at Woodward and then beyond Woodward Academy. And this has been our grounding for the strategic plan. And so as we get into this idea of our philosophy, I want to make sure that you understand that we are going to be striving for excellence by having the most talented faculty and staff. Academic excellence is incredibly important to what we do as an institution. And there were a lot of questions about this from our community as we prepared for today's webinar. What objectives are going to measure academic excellence? How can the Academy make sure that academics is a priority? How can we change the policy on students with assessments? Or how can we look at the way that we assess students to begin with? All of these are going to be questions that are going to be asked throughout this process. And then we want to talk a little bit about the community at Woodward. So this is, we're talking about a connected social experience, an experience where kids feel like they are known, they feel like they have their people, they feel like they have a group that they can lean on within this big tent that we call Woodward Academy. When you have over 2,500, 2,600 students that come from 23 counties and over 100 different zip codes, it can be a big place. And we want to make sure that our kids feel known. So whether this is a strong house system or an advisory system, or having friend groups through athletics or the arts or their co-curricular pursuits, we want to make sure that kids feel that they are connected throughout the day and that they are socially and emotionally grounded. The third pillar is our signature strengths. And we're going to talk specifically about what these signature strengths might be. But our signature strengths are going to be things that really differentiate Woodward Academy. Now, we know that at Woodward Academy, we can do anything, but we can't do everything. And we want to make sure that we're focused on the things that are the most important. Sports, athletics, those are things that Woodward has done really well since its founding. We have excellence in all sorts of sports. There are 18 different interscholastic sports that are offered at Woodward Academy. Tonight, our volleyball team will be competing against McIntosh at 7:30 at Lake Point for the state championship. You talk about excellence at the highest level for our athletic pursuits. Our Lady War Eagles tonight are going to be doing just that. Last night, I actually had the opportunity to announce our newest sport at Woodward Academy, or announce the game. I attended our flag football team. The girls took on Arabia Mountain and a very tough Decatur team last night in the rain and in the cold. This is the newest sport that was added at Woodward Academy. It's the fastest growing sport in the country right now, and that's an opportunity for a signature strength within the athletic realm for our girls in this case, and for all of our students to develop their character, to strive for excellence, and to have those types of opportunities. So athletics is one that is certainly a signature strength, and nobody does the arts better than Woodward Academy. If you look at our visual and our performing arts at Woodward Academy, they are second to none. I had the opportunity on Sunday to hear our choir sing and perform in the Gresham Chapel. Our orchestra is better than anything you might see professionally in New York or Carnegie Hall. Our band, our Robert W. Woodruff Marching Band, just recently competed for the second time this season. They've already won one tournament in terms of their marching band pursuits, and they also have concert and jazz bands and all kinds of other opportunities. I had the opportunity to travel with our visual arts students to Santa Fe, New Mexico. That is a signature strength for Woodward Academy, whether it's WA Live, or the visual or performing arts. Anything you can think of within the arts is a signature strength at Woodward Academy. But there has to be more. We can do more than just that. We can't do everything, but we can do some other things that we think could differentiate us. There were a lot of questions in the chat about AI. What is the future of AI in academics and in our world today? This is an area that Woodward Academy is positioned to be a leader in AI in education. We don't know what that will be yet, but I know that we have some incredibly talented faculty and staff. We have an incredibly talented alumni and parent community, and we've got a lot of resources that we can put towards what artificial intelligence might mean for the new world so that our kids are prepared for that world that hasn't even been fully explored yet. So the faculty and the students will be doing a deep dive into this. And so perhaps something in the area of STEM or STEAM or technology or innovation or AI could be a signature strength. I say that because we don't know at this point in time whether or not that might be identified, but it could be. Another example that we're digging into is this idea of civic engagement. We know that we live in a polarized world. Who better to bring people together than Woodward Academy? We have every race, religion, ethnicity, learning style, geographical diversity, diversity of thought. Whatever exists in the world exists here on this campus. And who better to lead in that world than Woodward Academy? So in our pursuit of strategic pillars, there are a couple that have emerged already as things that we will be pursuing. And there are probably a couple more that we haven't even thought of. But in the next couple of weeks, there will be workshops and opportunities for people to talk and to listen and to think about what those potential innovations might be in terms of these signature strengths. And then finally, one that is incumbent upon us is to talk about what comes next after Woodward Academy. This pillar is our pathway to college, career, and life. So at Woodward Academy, we are a college preparatory school. For as long as I've been at Woodward, every student that graduates has been accepted to a four-year college or university. Now, forever, they all went. That's changed a little. We now have kids that will take gap years. We sometimes have kids that go right into military service, or they go into the workforce, or they decide they want to do something different. We've had kids go to California and join startups. But the reality is that we want them to have the opportunity to go to a four-year college, a competitive four-year college. And so we want to dig deep into what that means. And so one of our four pillars is looking at what this means for Woodward Academy graduates. Are they well prepared for college? Are they well prepared for life? Are they positioned to be accepted into the most selective and prestigious colleges and universities? And what is it that the kids want? We want to start this journey early so that families know what the process looks like and they know what their students need to do to be prepared for these next steps. So this is just a little bit of a snapshot into the four major pillars that again are laid on the foundation of excellence, character, and opportunity. But one major thing that we've not talked about that I want to make sure that is lifted up is this idea of diversity. We are an incredibly diverse community. So you'll notice that this is a thread that is on the side of our four pillars based on the foundation. If this was our, our x-axis is excellence, character, and opportunity, our y-axis is diversity, and hopefully I got those two names for the axes properly named. But diversity is incredibly important for Woodward Academy. It's a gift that we've been given that many schools can't achieve. And I want us to look at this through the lens of not just race or ethnicity or even religion, because all of those exist at Woodward Academy, but it's also learning styles. We have our kids that come through the transition program, which has been around since the 60s, as early as second grade all the way through eighth grade, where they have diagnosed learning disabilities and they are part of the Woodward community just like anyone else. And so we want to make sure that diversity of learning style and the way kids learn is an important component of that diverse and rich community that we enjoy. Differing perspectives and freedom of expression. We want to make sure that all of our kids know that they are being taught how to think, not being told what to think. And that is very important. And I'll repeat it. Our job as educators is to teach kids how to think, not to tell them what to think. And so we want to make sure that our graduates are kids that can think critically, that they can ethically problem solve, and that they are ready to go into the world with a foundation based on excellence, character, and opportunity, and academic excellence that is going to prepare them for what comes next. So the diversity component is going to be a thread that you're going to see throughout all four of these pillars. I'll just lift up quickly the academic excellence. If you think about one of the unique aspects of our diversity at Woodward Academy, I don't know of any other school that has a college preparatory track, an enriched prep track, an honors prep track, an advanced prep track, all within the lens of a robust transition program. So there are multiple layers where our kids can excel and strive for academic excellence within that diverse learning environment. And that's very unique and something that Woodward Academy is incredibly proud of. So this just gives you a little bit of a visualization of our strategic plan, of what we have identified at this early stage as priorities. And all of this was based on the information that had been shared with us during all of those listening sessions. And so I'm going to skip ahead to the next slide, and we'll go through. Well, I'm going to go back real quick. I want to make sure that everyone has a clear understanding of all of these things, and I'll give you a chance to read this on the screen. But the importance here is that we are going to base all of this on the foundation of excellence, character, and opportunity, and the foundation for every learner, that every student is going to receive that rigorous research-based instruction that is tailored to their readiness and their potential. That's really important to make sure that we are tailoring this to the unique aspects that that kid, that student brings to the table, and that their parents are partnering with us along that journey as they make their way through the academy from one school to the other with seamless transition. The connected strengths of our well-being of our students, that our students are building lasting friendships, that they have collaborative relationships across circles, and it's grounded by character. Again, we talk about our signature strengths. These are the depths where students can shine. They can dig deeper. Some kids might be really focused on the athletic pursuits because they want to be a student athlete where they go next. We've had kids, I think last year we had 18 kids that signed scholarships to be able to go on and compete athletically at the next level. The same could be said about the arts. The same could be said about service learning and service leadership. Those are also areas where kids can do a deep dive and decide where they want to pursue passions that maybe they don't even know they have at this point in time, but because their relationship with those teachers have been so meaningful, they've been able to develop those passions and explore those passions. And maybe the last step is picking a college. And so through those signature strengths, they're able to identify where they want to go next. And it's very possible that a kid decides that in a signature strength that is devoted to technology or innovation or robotics or AI, that they want to go to an engineering school. And that helps to form their list of which schools they're going to be exploring. And so we guide each student to discover, prepare for, and take their first steps towards the future where they will be thriving beyond graduation. And again, as I mentioned previously, all of this is happening through the lens of diversity that we enjoy here at Woodward Academy and all the different ways that we can shape that. All right. So before we get into the workshops, well, let me just outline real quickly. This is the plan that we have as we move forward for our strategic planning workshops. Okay. The Advancement Committee and Advisory Board. This is something that is part of Woodward's governing board, is going to be meeting on November 5th. The Alumni Board, again, these are both invitation only. These are organizations that help support Woodward Academy, are going to be looking closely at these pillars, and we are valuing their input. Woodward Academy has over 14,000 alumni. That is an incredibly talented and rich resource for the Academy. We want to make sure that we lean into their expertise and that we think about their perspective as we look at our pillars and our path forward. On Thursday, November 6th at 8:30 in the morning, Woodward North parents will be invited to a work session, and we hope that people will be able to join us in person. The Woodward North employees will have one on November 6th as well, later that afternoon. And then on the main campus, our employees will have an opportunity on Friday, November 7th. We'll start as early as 7:30 in the morning and go till 8:15. Of course, school starts at 8:20. So that should give them a good opportunity to workshop with us and to provide additional feedback. And then the main campus parents, our parent community meeting is going to be open to all parents. So please make sure you save the date on Tuesday, November 18th from 8:30 until 10:30. This is a big slot of time. For 2 hours, we will be workshopping with our parents on the main campus. So if you have an opportunity to join us, we will be very much looking forward to talking to you in greater detail about the strategic plan and getting your perspective. And so please continue to take notes as we talk about this today and what comes next. So I'm going to stop my share there for a minute, and you guys will get a bigger picture of me. And I'm going to go through a few of the questions that I received in advance. And I will say, I want to make sure that everybody knows we're not going to be able to get to every question, but I want to make sure that we hit on some of these top topics that were lifted up in some of the themes. One of the big questions that was asked is, how do we make sure that we have academic excellence? And this, I think, was specifically talking about our faculty and our staff. And you are going to hear me say this often, but Woodward Academy is about the people. It is about the teachers. It is about the staff and the coaches that are working directly with our students. Now, a lot of times we'll do campaigns and we'll build buildings, and brick and mortar is important, but it is not the most important thing. So we at Woodward Academy are committed to attracting, recruiting, and retaining and developing the most talented faculty and staff. And so I think it's very important for people to understand that one of the things that we do financially to prioritize this is to look at salaries and to make sure that we are being competitive. We also have a number of ways that we can reward meritorious work in the classroom. We have a merit system where teachers can earn additional merit pay, merit 1, 2, and 3. There are 3 tiers where teachers are given an opportunity to show how they have helped the Woodward community. Some of this is in the classroom and making sure that we have developed master teachers and professional development that goes along with that. And some of this is also outside of the classroom. For us to provide all of the opportunities that we do at Woodward Academy, it is critically important for us to have people that coach, to have people that sponsor, whether it's the debate team or the robotics club, the football team, cheerleading, or the visual and performing arts. We need faculty and staff that are able to help and support and grow those programs. And so those are all part of the equation when it comes down to making sure that we have the most talented faculty and staff. And so when we do have raises in tuition that are a reality of the independent school world, the vast majority of those funds go to providing pay raises for our faculty and staff. About 80% of our budget each year goes into the people. And so recruiting, retaining, developing the most talented faculty is what your tuition is paying towards. I think people know this, but it bears repeating. No tuition money has ever gone to building a building. Buildings are built based on capital campaigns and philanthropic support from probably those that have come before us. When you look at the names of the buildings, from Jane Woodruff to Joe Moss to Michael Carlos, these are the people who have made Woodward a philanthropic priority, and their dollars went towards building those buildings, not tuition. Tuition really goes to our faculty and staff and making sure that both the people and the programs that we have at Woodward reflect that excellence, character, and opportunity, and the academic excellence pillar that we're looking for in our strategic plan. So hopefully that answers the question in terms of attracting and retaining. Again, we have processes that are in place to make sure that our teachers are evaluated annually, and our principals and the department chairs work very hard in a collaborative manner to make sure that our teachers have all of the resources they need to be the best that they can be. There's another question about recruiting folks specifically in STEM and STEAM. And again, the same is true in terms of making sure that we are doing that in an effort to get folks that are at the cutting edge of those areas. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead here for a minute. There were a number of questions for you around our facilities and campus resources. There was a question asked about the upper school dining hall and the facilities that we have in the Woodruff Dining Hall. For those of you that don't know, the Woodruff Dining Hall was built in 1971. It's a very utilitarian space in the sense that it serves the needs of the high school in a way that we are able to feed our students during the lunch hour. I will say that our students and our upper school leadership and the dining hall staff are incredibly flexible and creative in the ways that we do this. They are oftentimes taking to-go lunches to different areas on campus for club meetings, and they're able to congregate in spaces that aren't in the cafeteria. I will say, as I look out the window and it's a rainy day, this is one of the more difficult challenges for the cafeteria on rain days because kids can't eat outside. Our dream is to one day have a cafeteria that's built for the size of our student body. This would be a new student commons that would be far more than just a dining hall. In fact, we won't refer to it as a dining hall. We will refer to it as a student commons, because beyond just being a place where we would have 5 serving lines instead of our existing 2 serving lines, we would be able to have everybody gathering during that common lunchtime under one roof. There would be rooms that would be dedicated to our different student clubs and organizations to be able to eat together and to have meetings for advisory groups to get to meet. Our campus store would be there. We might even have a coffee shop for parents who are coming down to Woodward Academy to drop their kids off, or maybe they get here early to pick their kids up and they could grab a cup of coffee and meet with somebody in the parent community during their visit to campus. In fact, we even have a name for the coffee shop called Common Grounds, and that will be really symbolic of what we're hoping to create here at Woodward. So just thinking about that facility and what that means for us as a community, we, as we've talked about, come from 23 different counties. We are not a traditional neighborhood school, and we have to work very hard to create community. And I will say, when done well, there's no stopping us as a community. And so we want our buildings, we want our programs, we want our people to reflect that sense of common ground and bringing people together under one roof. And so our new student commons will not just be a place and a noun, it'll also be an adjective and a verb, an activity that will take place under those roofs, and a way of describing our community coming together for common goals. And so we're really excited about what that space might look like. Now, you will hear far more in the next year and 2 ahead in terms of how we make that a reality. But the only way that Woodward Academy can reach for excellence is going to be through the philanthropic support of our community. So Lauren Flores, our new Vice President for Advancement, will be talking about how we achieve these goals through philanthropic support. Participating in the Woodward Fund is the first and most important step, which is our annual fund, and it is taking place right now. But eventually, there will be capital campaigns that we will be looking at the people and the places and the spaces that we want on our campus, and how do we make those a reality. So if you are interested, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to Lauren Flores to share more about that. Now, it's more than just a cafeteria. I will tell you, it's an incredibly impressive plan, but it's also a very impressive price tag. Something like that could be in the 40, 50, $60 million range for a school the size of Woodward Academy. So we do have a master plan that is outlining what our priorities are in terms of our campus and our facilities. And the first next project up is going to be our dining hall, the student commons in the upper school. But there are other things that are also very important. I had a couple of questions in the chat about athletics and the arts. I'll start with athletics. There was a question about any plans for track and field facilities to be improved so that we could host our region meets and accommodate more people. Those of you that may not know this, but I actually was the track coach when we built that 8-lane track down there at South Park. And we have done a lot to try to improve those facilities. In fact, we're probably one of only a handful of schools that has 2 8-lane tracks, because then we built another one over there on the Willingham complex. And so those facilities are excellent, but you're exactly right. We would love to be able to improve the seating in some of those areas. And so again, our athletics department will be working in tandem with our advancement team to look at ways that we might be able to improve those spaces. And so if you are interested in helping to support those things, I know that Lauren Flores would be welcome to have that conversation with you. The performing arts space is another area that we've put a lot of investment into over the last few years. We built a brand new state-of-the-art orchestra room. For those of you that don't know, Richardson Hall, which houses our visual and performing arts, was built in the early 70s. And so it is a space that has aged over time, but it's also been improved over those years. In 1999, we did an extensive improvement that expanded and put that whole front facade where we have graduation onto Richardson Hall, and also worked closely with the visual and performing arts leadership to make sure that those spaces and resources that we had were commensurate with the level of excellence that we strive for in those programs. And then more recently, we've added a loft in the visual arts space so that we could expand classroom opportunities for painting, because that's one of our most highly sought after programs. We were able to add an additional art room over in the Edwards Center for Innovation during our building of the upper school in the humanities building. And then most recently, we've been able to expand the visual arts sculpture studios on the first floor of Richardson. And as I said, we built a new orchestra room, which, by the way, in 1999, the last time we had done a significant renovation to Richardson, we didn't even have an orchestra program. And so now in the last 26 years, under the direction and talented leadership of Gina Calloway, we have one of the best orchestra programs in the nation. And so when we built that new space, which doubled the size of our orchestra classroom in the upper school, and by the way, we also built a new orchestra room about probably 6 or 7 years ago, maybe longer, down at the lower school. And so we're really excited to be able to provide facilities for those programs that are growing. But of course, there's always more that could be done. We want to make sure that as a signature strength, there are areas within our arts program with the theater and all of the different programs in both visual and performing arts that we have the best spaces available. So again, stay tuned for continued conversations about what our facilities and campus resources might be. But we will use our strategic plan to revisit our master plan and make sure that those are spaces and those are priorities that we are looking for support. Okay, another area where there were a lot of questions was in the area of transitions, not the transition program necessarily, but kids transitioning from the primary school to the lower school, from the lower school to the middle school to the upper school, and of course, kids coming from our Woodward North campus to the main campus. And so the questions were around what are the strategies that we're looking to make sure that we are looking at possible expansions at Woodward North in terms of adding a seventh and an eighth grade so that those kids would maybe come to the main campus when they got to upper school ages. This is something that we've studied now twice in the 35 years that Woodward North has existed. But we are doing that again, and we're looking closely at what a seventh grade and eighth grade might look like at the North Campus. I've shared this with the Woodward North community, but I'll say in all likelihood, it probably would not include a robust athletic or arts offering like you might experience here on the main campus. But it's possible that there could be a micro school model for seventh and eighth grade at North where kids are really interested in STEM or STEAM. The capital outlay that would be required to add science classrooms and labs at seventh and eighth grade level at the North Campus is a lot different than us building another football stadium or track and field or a theater or all of the arts opportunities. And so we are looking closely at that. It would be at least a year or two out before we were able to implement that type of a change. But I do want you to know that this is the time for us to look under the hood and make those decisions. And so we are looking closely. And Dr. Nigel Traylor, our Vice President for Academics and Student Life, along with Nisha Meyer, who is our Vice President for Enrollment Management, are starting that conversation to determine what programmatically we would need. And we're going to do that in a very thoughtful, strategic way. And so when we get up there to the North Campus and have conversations, we'll be ready to help share more, but just know that that is in our thought process. What can be done to smooth the transition between schools from lower school to middle school and finally to upper school? This is a question that we are constantly looking at. And I know that Dr. Traylor and the principals are looking very closely to make sure that our curriculum from each of those schools aligns. Our department chairs spend a lot of time. I know that right now we're in the process of going through an audit with our math department. We're going to do that for each of our academic disciplines to make sure that from the curricular standpoint and even the co-curricular and student life experience, that those transitions between each of the schools are seamless. We want you to feel and experience one academy where our students are seen and known individually at those schools, but that they feel prepared for what comes next. I know that there are some upcoming parent preview days. I would encourage you as parents to please come and experience those parent preview opportunities. And we are doing things with the school principals. I know that each of the school principals works in collaboration with their colleagues at the other schools to make sure that our primary school kids feel well prepared for the move to the lower school, and the same can be true for lower school going to the middle school and middle school going to the upper school. And so again, that is something that is absolutely part of this strategic plan and that social connected experience. So you can see how each of these questions really work in tandem with the strategic plan and the pillars that we've identified. Here we are asking a question about collaboration to see across schools to promote greater sense of community. I couldn't think of a better, more important thing for us than building our sense of Woodward pride and a sense of community. Today, as you know, we are experiencing an academy-wide Spirit Day in honor of our girls volleyball team. The extent of my spirit wear right now is this beautiful red tie with the Woodward gate on the front. I promise that on my way up to Lake Point tonight to watch the girls compete, I will be in more spirited attire. But yeah, academy-wide today, all the principals without hesitation said, we want to be in our spirit wear to support our girls as they make their way to the state competition tonight. We've talked about faculty recruitment. I want to say a word about civic engagement. This is something that is near and dear to my heart because as a former government and economics teacher, I think it's critically important for our students to be prepared to be part of the solutions that our world needs to find and the collaborative and common ground that we need to find in this polarized world. And so we want our students to have the ability to understand the community's needs beyond their own needs, and for them to take initiative with others, to be leaders of change through empathy and action, collaboration, all the things that go in to making our kids good humans. And I will say that in the 32 years that I've been at Woodward, I have been impressed, every single day by the faculty and the staff, whether it's Woodward Grows and us building a community garden, or our service leadership board, where our kids are engaged in things like our Atlanta Community Food Bank, or when they go down to the Boys and Girls Club at the Jesse Draper Club, which actually is on our campus, or they spend their summers at Horizons at Woodward, helping with the summer slide for the kids that live right here in the neighborhood where our school has resided for 125 years. I'm so impressed and I'm so inspired by the faculty and the staff and the students who are constantly looking for ways that they can make the world a better place. And so I see a vision where this idea of civic engagement, whatever we want to call it, resides in that student commons, where our kids can come together and they can talk about things about leadership development, character development, service leadership, and learning how to be somebody who is bringing solutions to the table, can all take place in that space. And so that's incredibly important. We've talked about innovation and AI. I'm going to switch for just a second here and go to the chat and see what questions have come in. So I have this question about administering surveys annually among parents and older students to collect important feedback. The answer is yes, yes, and yes. I do know that we do exit interviews every single time, and maybe that's not the right word, but transition interviews, surveys that take place like when a student is moving from primary school to lower school, or lower school to the middle school. We always survey parents during those years that they're leaving from one school to go to the next school. There have been times where we've extended those surveys to everyone within the parent community, but data is very important. I will tell you, we're going to spend a lot of time leaning into the data and making sure that your voices are heard. And so I think surveys are an incredibly important way to do that. Someone else is asking about surveys for the faculty. I will acknowledge there is something called survey fatigue, and we are mindful of that. We do not want people to feel like they're not being heard, but we absolutely want to make sure we have that careful balance. So just know that we are, we prioritize your voice in this process, and we want to make sure that we find it. Now, there's a lot of other ways. Email is ubiquitous in this world, and sending an email to the leadership, to the teachers, to the faculty in a way that allows you to share your perspective is really important. There is an avenue on our website called I Wonder. I would like to put in a plug for I Wonders. There is an opportunity to do them anonymously, but I will tell you that's incredibly frustrating for us because we can't answer your questions. I mean, we will certainly look at them, we'll take them under advisement, but I promise you that if you submit something through an I Wonder or an email to us, we're not looking at who sent it necessarily, but we want to be able to respond to you and tell you, what we are doing or how we would like to address those issues. So I would encourage you, if you do those things, let us know who it is so that we can get back to you. And sometimes we need more information to be able to address those problems. But this is a learning environment. We are all eager to learn and to do better. And Woodward has 125 years of educational excellence and a tradition, but we are never resting on our laurels. We're always moving forward. You're going to hear us talk about Onward Woodward. Onward Woodward is part of our alma mater. It is also our philosophy, where we are constantly striving to do things that are progressive in nature, but also incredibly well thought out. We're not going to just jump on the latest fad from an educational standpoint, but we're going to get our talented educational leaders together and make the best decisions for our students. So please make sure that you are, part of that partnership, and that you let us know areas that we could improve upon. Along those lines, I'd like to also just say a word about the importance of proximity of the relationships. So I've always believed the best way to solve a problem is for a parent to reach out to the teacher or to the coach. Really, the best thing eventually is for a student to talk to their teacher, a student or a player to talk to their coach, because that's where the problem or the conflict or the conversation can be the most meaningful and can be resolved the quickest. Jumping up to the president of the school or a vice president of the school or even a principal, you're skipping a couple of steps that can be integral to us solving that problem. So as hard as it sometimes can be, encourage your student in terms of self-advocacy to go talk to that teacher, to go talk to that coach. If that doesn't work, the parent, of course, should reach out to the parent, should reach out to the teacher, to the coach. Then the next step would be an athletic director or a department chair. We don't want it to be too bureaucratic, but at the same time, we want to get to where the relationship is the closest. And believe me, we have amazing faculty and staff that are in this business because they love kids and they love making a difference in their lives. And they've dedicated, most of them have dedicated their entire professional careers to teaching. And many of them have done that just here for Woodward Academy. And so I would encourage you to have those conversations. And then we promise to be very responsive. If you email us, we're going to email you back. We're going to respond back to you. And sometimes an email is not the best way to have the conversation. Maybe it's a phone call. Maybe it's in person. But we are committed to those relationships. And so again, that's an incredible part of us achieving all of these goals in our strategic plan is to make sure that those relationships that are the heart of a Woodward Academy journey and experience are where all of those conversations start. So I'm looking behind. A lot of people have asked about the recording, and I know in the chat it has been shared. We will make sure that this recording is available for those that were not able to join or jumped on late. And again, we will have our in-person sessions as well. Let's see, what else do we have here? All right, world languages. So we've got some folks that are asking about world languages. And so we are, as I mentioned earlier, we do audits that exist within each of our academic disciplines. And we are looking at the question is whether or not we offer other languages other than just Spanish and French at the lower grades, and making sure that we are doing justice to our kids in terms of those languages. I will tell you that our upper and middle school have been on the same daily schedule for a number of years, and that provides an opportunity for our middle school kids to actually take world languages that align with the same schedule that are in the upper school. You know, part of this is, you know, we have 6 different languages that are offered at Woodward Academy. So we have Mandarin or Chinese and Japanese and German and French and Spanish. They have small class loads, and so we want to make sure that we maximize those efficiencies for the number of kids that are in those classes. And so we want to make sure that if we can align those schedules, that would allow maybe a 7th or an 8th grader to take those classes. So those are things that we'll look closely at. And let's see, we've got some good feedback here on my presentation. I appreciate that. And I just want to, I think we are getting close. So we have about 5 minutes left. I just want to make sure that everybody knows the way that they can get involved in this process. So again, we've had our surveys, we've had our small group discussions, but we are going to have these opportunities. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen one more time just so that everybody has an opportunity to see the dates. But this gives you an idea of what our strategic planning dates are going to be for these workshops. Again, we'll be working with our advisory board, our advancement committee, the alumni board. Those are invitation only. Those are members of our stakeholder groups that we want to make sure are involved in the process. And then Woodward North parents have Thursday, November 6th at 8:30 in the morning. Our Woodward North employees will have a workshop session on Thursday, November 6th from 11:45 to 12:30. And then main campus employees on Friday, November 7th from 7:30 a.m. till 8:15 a.m. And then again on Tuesday, November 18th from 8:30 till 10:30. That is our parent community meeting. I believe that's going to be in the Gresham Chapel, and that is open to all parents. So even if you see that it says parent community meeting, that is open to all parents, and we hope that everyone will join us for that. Let's see if there's anything else that has come in. Thanks for taking this opportunity. And then I'll just say this as we close. There were some specific questions that are asked that I want to make sure get answered. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Again, Eagle info or eagle@woodward.edu is a great way. The I wonders, and again, if you'll put your name, it gives us an opportunity for us to respond and answer your questions specifically. But I just want everyone to know that we have an incredible opportunity right now at Woodward Academy. I mean, we are the oldest independent school in the city of Atlanta, founded in 1900. We just celebrated our quasquicentennial. We are at an incredible moment right now to do some amazing things. And Woodward will never stand by and just rest on our laurels. We will always be working to improve, to become a better place. You will find leadership at Woodward Academy, faculty and staff, and our students embracing a culture of lifelong learning and constantly looking for ways for us to improve. And we want you as parents that are listening to partner with us. If you are on faculty and staff, you are what makes Woodward Academy the place that it is today. So we want to make sure that you have a voice in this process. There is going to be a website that will be launched that will outline everything that I've talked about today. It is also going to have our recording of today, and it's also going to list the people that are leading this effort. And the core team members are members of the faculty and staff, their principals, their classroom teachers. It is not me. It is not our senior team. It is not the governing board alone. We are working with our faculty and staff and the student voices and the parent voices to make sure that our strategic plan, that our roadmap for the next 5 years or 125 years does everything possible to provide excellence, character, and opportunity for our students, because that's the reason we're here. And if we do everything through the lens of lifting up our students, not what our students want, but what's best for our students, more often than not, we can't be wrong. So I'm incredibly grateful for you investing your time today, listening to me. I'm incredibly grateful for those of you that work here at Woodward Academy, because it's not just a job, it is your livelihood, it is your passion. And I'm incredibly grateful for our parents for investing and trusting Woodward Academy with the education of your children. Thank you so much, and this concludes our webinar.